So you want to start full-time reselling. Well, these are 5 more tips for you guys that want to start and where to begin. Hi guys, I am back. If you don't know me, my name is Erlia, otherwise known as martziechic, and I have had camera troubles. So I had actually had an older Canon camera for quite a bit of time, and that one decided to die on me. So I did get a brand new camera. So tell me if you guys like the quality of this video much more than the others. I would highly appreciate it if you did let me know down in the comments, because I am just looking at myself in the viewfinder a little bit, and I do like it. It seems a lot more crisp, and I'm so excited to be filming for you guys now because it just makes it so much easier. If you guys want a whole video on just my camera, I can definitely let you have that if you'd like it. But in the meantime, today's video is just going to be all about full-time reselling. These are 5 more tips I think you guys should know before you get into it. If you didn't know already, I did make a previous video on 5 tips that I think you should know before starting full-time reselling. These are a little more niched down into, you know, the day-to-day, the logistics, what you're going to do, who you're going to sell to, and everything like that. So if you are really interested in getting into full-time reselling, which I know a lot of you are, keep on watching. So for those of you that are new on here, I started full-time reselling in June, and it is now August. So I think I've had a little bit of time adjusting myself and coming up with processes and everything like that. So these tips are really, again, going to be niched down to what you're going to do day to day, you know, what things you have to take into consideration, and what things that I've had to struggle with a little bit just to find my own voice within the platform and within reselling itself. But before we get started here, if you guys like reselling videos, if you like lifestyle content, business tips, please be sure to click the little subscribe button down below and tap the notification bell right next to it to be notified every single time I post a new video. I make about 2 videos a week, hopefully now since I have a new camera. And I also would love it if you give this video a big thumbs up down below to support my channel. It really helps people get eyes on these videos and helps me get more exposure within the platform. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing that, I would highly appreciate it, and we will jump into the tips. So the first tip here I have for you guys is asking yourself, what is your why? Now, this is a question my mom actually likes asking me quite a bit of time, but genuinely, this is important to know because it keeps you motivated on your off days or days you just really don't feel like working, but it also really helps with telling your story. So my story is that I started this in 2018 in my college dorm room. I was doing it part-time. You know, I kind of stumbled into it while I was at college studying geology, and I was really interested in finding, you know, new ways to help the earth, protect the earth, and something along those lines, but I wasn't exactly sure what that would look like for me yet. And, you know, again, I kind of stumbled into reselling, and a friend of mine actually had suggested it to me, and after a little bit of time, I did decide to start doing that part-time. Again, it was something that I really had a passion for, and I wasn't exactly sure what I should be doing at that time. I was balancing school and reselling, and, you know, after I've graduated now, I kind of decided that reselling is the route that I wanted to go upon. So this keeps me really motivated because it helps keep textile waste out of landfills. So this is one of the ways that we can actually start making a difference in terms of how much waste we are producing, at least in the United States where I live. So this is something that I feel really passionate about, something that I want to dig deeper into, and, you know, that is a little bit about my story. So my goals might be different than anyone else's goals. You know, if you are a you know, high ASP seller, you know, you might have a different story than I do, or if you know you're a bulk volume seller, you might have a different story as well. So really honing in on your story, your why, what makes you different. These things are so important because this definitely has kept me motivated on my off days, and, like, you know, early, keep in touch with your mission. Like, this is what you're doing. And I feel like this is something a lot of new sellers don't really know yet. Obviously, I've been doing this for so long now, so I kind of have a good grasp on that, but really honing in on your why is very important. The second tip I have for you guys is, who is your audience? You know, who are you speaking to? Obviously, I have a lot of different platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and also my Poshmark following. So those are tools that I can use whether to market or leverage some things to make more sales in my closet if I'd like to. This is something that I don't do that often, but I do tell some of my customers in the community, whether it be on YouTube or Instagram or something, when I'm having sales. This is kind of rare. Usually I just have these 2 built build my community. So my audience in particular is mostly resellers. So not exactly my customers, but resellers. And this is something that I do want to start adjusting to in the future here, because I think a lot of my customers could learn as well about sustainability and practices like that, which I do want to hop into more on my channel. But that is a long-term goal for me. So again, my audience is mostly resellers, so I know that I am talking to mostly resellers. So I like to give a lot of tips. I like to provide a lot of information. I don't think in the future that I'd ever make a reselling guide, because I give a lot of information away for free, and honestly I do think that it should be free because I think more people should be doing this, especially with my mission. So this channel is really just meant for free information for you guys. Obviously I'm going to try to make spreadsheets and things, because if you guys don't have time for that, I definitely just want to make sure that you guys can still do that and be on task with your goals. But in terms of reselling guides or anything like that, I don't think I'm ever going to be offering that, because I tell you guys right from my mouth what I am doing, changing, working on, etc. So when you're speaking to your audience, you really have to figure out how that is making you any money. If you are not into social media at all and you're just into reselling, you know, this might be different for you. You might have sale banners. You need to speak to your customers, whether that be on Poshmark or eBay or something like that. I know with YouTube that I can make money. So with this, I am really just telling you guys everything that you need to know, and trying to get these videos up as fast as possible, while still speaking to my reseller audience, because they are really the backbone of my community on YouTube and Instagram. So this is kind of a blended tip, but stay tuned into who your audience is, what they want from you, and what they want to see from you, basically. The third tip here is actually based on a comment that I recently got on my last video about this, and it was basically talking about expenditures. So I did want to talk to you guys about this a little bit. Last time I kind of said, you know your business model, know what you should be paying for things, but I didn't really go into that too much. So you do need to calculate in how much you're going to be spending on your items. Not only that though, how much you're going to be spending per week on your items. So I do have a weekly budget for it myself. But sometimes this does change and fluctuate depending on if I have found some really great things in thrift stores. But for the most part, I do try to keep my cost of goods very, very low. And on my last spreadsheet that I shared with you guys, I do calculate in the cost per each item out of my net and gross profits, because I just want to make sure that those are taken care of first. But I have started to stockpile items for the last 2 quarters here since the summer. So my costs were a little bit higher on coats and jeans and that sort of thing, just because they're heavier. And even in the thrift stores, they are marked up quite a bit. So those are the things that I spent more money on, but you do need to figure out how much you're going to be spending on each item before you are going into this. So I know some people are like, okay, just double your money. So say you want to be a high ASP seller. So this basically just means that your average sales price is higher than most other people. You probably want to go with like the more Mogi Best style, and you want to get at least twice your money on that item. But say you spend $30 on an item, right? And you sell that item for, I think, what is it, 75, and you make 60 on Poshmark. You're only making $30 on that item. Now that might seem pretty high, but you do have to have a lot of capital to be able to invest that money into that item, and you also need to know if the item's going to sell. So one thing that I would recommend you guys do before you do anything else, and this goes in the next tip, you need to be sourcing items at the cheapest rate possible. I know a lot of people have been talking about a scandal that's been going on within the reselling community about boxes, which I don't totally want to get into on here because I'm not a gossip queen, but you know, these were marked up items and they were, you know, marketed really well and everything else by this one person, but you want to keep your cost of goods low. If you ever have to pay more than $20 an item for something, really think about how much money that item's going to bring you. You shouldn't just be making 2 times the amount of your money. When I first got started, I actually wanted to make 4 times the amount that I was making on each item. And I think this last month in total, I made about 4.8% over my original spending price. So that means that I've made almost 5 times my money over from what I've been spending. Kind of wrapping this up, this is getting so long, but if you're only making 2 times the profit, say you're getting $30 an item, right? And you also bought an item for $5 and you got your money back half that, you might only be getting 10. But if you are making more than that, say you do make about 4 or 5 times your money back, that item can make you about $25 to $30 as well in profit, and you have spent a lot less money. You just need to make sure that you know what you're looking for first. So do calculate the cost of your items into your budget, because this is something that keeps your business running, something that's important to have. And I didn't mention that in my last video, but I definitely should have, that it costs money. It costs money in every business to be able to continue it going, whether you work at a boutique or you are starting a reselling business. You do have to spend money on items to sell. It does cost something to produce those items or to source those items, and you do have to calculate that into your overall budget. But another thing that you do also have to calculate in your budget is if you're buying poly mailers, if you're going to include marketing samples within your packages, if you are going to be doing giveaways. Like, there are so many different costs that you could have within your business, and you need to make sure that number one, you're prepared for those, but number two, that you have them budgeted in. Like this brand new camera I got, I did not have this budgeted in. This is honestly out of my own savings because I didn't realize I would need a new camera. But if you can think about things in advance about what kind of steps you want to make, you can definitely make sure that you have that money saved before you invest it back in your business. So that was a really long tip, but I do hope you guys understand what I'm saying. You do need to calculate the expenditures that you're going to have back into your business, because your profit can only get you so far, and you want to make sure that you do have a little bit of excess money to spend back again into inventory. The fourth tip though here is a little more simple, and that is, are you staying on task and are you making the most of your time and effort spent on your business? So one tip that I actually found through Instagram was setting a self-timer, whether that be 30 minutes or 1 hour or whatever. I think that this is really beneficial, especially when you're listing. I know that listing can be a lot more tedious than most other things that you might do, like source or package, but I think that you should definitely be timing yourself, knowing how long it's going to take you to complete your tasks, and making the most of your time when you are doing those tasks. So if you find that you are listing, right, and you find yourself on TikTok or Instagram or something, whether that be for 10 minutes, 20 minutes or longer, really consider taking a break. I know that might sound bad, but you need to have that break to sharpen the saw. Otherwise, you're going to keep procrastinating. And this might just be true for myself, but I find that if I am procrastinating for a few minutes, I really try to take that moment and say, okay, do I need a break? So if I need a break, I understand that that's for an hour or two, and I read a book, I get a shower, I go for a walk, I do something that benefits me in a healthy way, and I find that I can definitely get back into it once I come back. If you have to take days off, I would not recommend full-time reselling. But if you think that you can spend the time on it and you're spending time on things intentionally that make you more money, I think that that is a great way to be spending your time. So obviously on sourcing days you can't be making that much, but actually one thing that I do is I have my Poshmark sharer send out offers. So I will send out offers on days that I'm sourcing just to make sure that sales are still rolling in. But on my listing days, that is actually when I'm making the bulk of my money back, because I'm spending those hours intentionally listing items that are going to make me more money. I don't really know if that makes sense or not, but basically when I'm sourcing, I'm not doing something technically on my computer that is going to be making me money, but when I'm listing, I am increasing my profitability. So that's just one example, but another example for me is actually YouTube, so uploading my videos. Although it might not make sense for me to be filming, I have to do it to upload. And although it might not make sense for me to edit my videos, it is essential for me to upload. So this is one activity that I can do that makes me more money in the long term. And this might look different for you, but for the most part, I think for most of us, it's going to be listing. And one last thing that I did want to say about this is if you are not actively listing or actively doing tasks that are going to make you money, you're obviously going to lose it. You cannot procrastinate these, you cannot ignore them. Whether or not you have to do them or have someone else do them for you in your business, I think it's definitely important that you do them, complete them. Otherwise, you're just not going to make any money, and it's not going to be super profitable for you to be a full-time reseller. But the fifth and final tip today is asking yourself, do you know what sells? Okay, so this might seem like a very beginner thing, and I recently went into a Goodwill outlet and I was talking to the worker there, and she was asking me about reselling and everything. And we were talking, and she was like, I really want to get into this. And I said, this is the best place to start because you have all of this inventory and you can really start experimenting with what brands, styles start selling well for you, and your cost of goods are so low. So we really were chatting it up, but I do think that this is so important. You need to know what sells. And you know, I make a ton of videos on what sells well on Poshmark and everything. So if you guys want to watch that playlist, after you watch this video, I totally would recommend it. But also, it's really important to understand what trends are currently in style and what will sell faster. Even if they're not a name brand, a lot of the vintage items that I sell are actually sold only based on style, not necessarily on brand. So you really need to understand and take time into investigating what sells. And again, you don't need to be spending a lot of money on this. You could just source items from the bins that you think, oh, this is very similar to the style that I'd want to sell, and just see how they go. But this is something that definitely takes some time. When I first started reselling part-time, I think I took a whole summer just to understand the different brands, what type of listing style I wanted, what types of photographs I wanted to take, how I wanted to package things, but mostly what sold. So this might be a beginner tip for you guys, but if you're thinking about experimenting into different brands or styles, go to the bins, just see what you can find and try experimenting, because it can only help. And this is something, especially if you're starting to get into new markets on your reselling business, so helpful. So recently I started expanding into men's and the home market, pets, and this has been so beneficial for me. So understanding what sells, very, very important. If you liked this video, please give it a little thumbs up down below to support my channel and consider subscribing. That is everything that I have for you guys today. I hope that you liked this video and found it insightful. If you did, leave me a little comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!